So after seeing episode 2 of season 2 of Daryl Dixon, I have to say we're kind of off to a rough start. This was a pretty frustrating episode, a lot of parts of it that just don't work. There's some good ideas here, but I don't think that they really stick the landing. There's one particularly good idea with Laurent, we'll get to it later, but we finally learn what this upcoming ceremony is supposed to be, and that's a cool concept, and I'm curious to see where we're going with it. But there are a lot of things in this episode that are either just like too obtuse with the writing, like they'll just come out and say the theme directly, or just really silly character decisions, like things that Carol does. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem all that grounded anymore. You know, it's back to kind of the slop that we've gotten in a lot of the other Walking Dead spinoff shows. So I didn't really care for this one. We're going to break into it here. We start off with Laurent, and he's got a monologue prayer to God about the things he is hoping for, the things he wants to be. Daryl returns, and Losang, we find out kind of what's been going on with him. I've kind of got a sinister vibe with him, even though he's all about pacifism. There seems to be some type of issue with Daryl, and I think he was planning something, and we find out that it turns out there was something a little sinister to his plans. So, and then we cut to Carol, and they crash in Greenland, and this is the worst part of the episode here. This is just an awful storyline. They should have just cut the whole thing. So, right off the bat, it's just got a weird vibe, because we had this character, Ash, who Carol convinced to go on this crazy mission to France. And yeah, she lied to him and all of that, but still, you know, this is a guy who's been on his own forever, and he hasn't really dealt with people, and the plane is, like, smoking. It really feels like it's over, you know, it's crashing. They do manage to land safely, but they're just acting so nonchalant. You know, if it was me, I'd be freaking out. Like, we're about to be stranded in another continent on this massive place where there's like nothing in sight. Like, it would just be astronomical that you would like be able to survive out here. And I'm just like, they're acting like it's no big deal. And I don't understand why they're acting like this. It's so weird. And if like, it would be natural and organic for Ash to be like, I should have never come here. Like, this is stupid. What am I doing here? Why did I agree to do this? He would be blaming Carol for the fact that the plane broke. You know, that would be a natural human reaction. And we just have this totally relaxed situation. I mean, zombies come up. The zombies look cool. It's fine, you know, we got lurker sneaky zombies, which I like the aesthetics of it, you know, how they're all grown over and stuff, so that's all good. And then we meet new people, and these new characters are just, it's just laughable, honestly. I'm sorry to be harsh, but it just is what it is. So Daryl comes back with all the prisoners from Madame Janae. This guy is like really traumatized, and he's getting a haircut, but he's not hurt, so something happened over there, and then they make you think that he sold out Laurent. They want you to think that at this point in the episode, where he's like, I made a deal, and I'm going to keep us together. So I'm assuming at this point they want you to think it's Laurent, and then it kind of ends up being really convoluted at the end. There's like 3 things they want you to think, and it's really kind of confusing. It doesn't really gel. Then we got Laurent playing baseball with Daryl, which is a nice scene. I like this one. And one good thing I'll say about this episode, since we're going to be bashing it a lot, the locations are absolutely beautiful in the show. And this episode in particular, there are a lot of great locations. I really like this location, the nest, I think they call it, where they're located, the interiors of it. We got this old, like, religious art kind of decaying in the background. Got some really great locations in this episode. And here's the obligatory Isabel and Daryl talk about the theme of the episode scene. So really, we have one of these last episode, and now we're having this. It's just kind of like a pattern at this point. And it's not subtle, it's very obtuse. It's like just forcing it in. So we're just talking about doubt. You know, we're doubting the mission. Is this really what we want to be doing? Daryl says, you could come back with me. Why didn't this come up like months ago? You know, why didn't this come up like with the first boat? I mean, did they talk about it last season? I don't really remember. It's just like, why is this all of a sudden this revelation? Oh yeah, we can leave. But of course they got Laurent's mission, that he's serving a higher purpose and all of that. So again, I don't know how much you guys buy into that concept. It seems like a lot of people really don't. But then we got Laurent. He's gone. And they apparently, based on the end of the episode, staged this whole thing. They wanted you to think that he'd been kidnapped by Janae, that guy sold out the location, and Laurent got taken. And it's all a big setup, apparently. So, okay, so there are two plans here. So we got Lesang's plan. Lesang wanted Daryl and Isabel to think Laurent had been kidnapped, and we're going to distract them for a little bit, and then we're going to do a ceremony while they're gone. And it's like, okay, well, why didn't we just go straight into the ceremony as soon as they left? Like, why did we wait for them to potentially come back? And then it turns out that Lesang's number 2, the lady, because Lesang's this pacifist guy, he's not going to kill him. So we can't have him do that because that would be against his ideology, unless he was just lying, I guess. So we have this number 2 lady, and she altered the deal. She altered it further, guys. And then she was like, okay, we have to kill Daryl. Because it turns out Lesang just is worried that if Daryl leaves, that Laurent will want to go with him because of their connection that they have. And that's why he was trying to get them to separate, which makes sense. So then plan number 2 is actually the only plan that makes sense, where they try to kill Daryl. But when it happens in the episode, it's just confusing. And then we got these 2 random ladies in Greenland. And I get it, if there's a plane overhead, you're probably going to go towards it. In the same way our characters did all the way back in season 3 with the governor's people and the plane crash and whatnot, and that happened in the comics as well. So if there's a plane that goes overhead, you're going to hear it. You're going to be like, what is that? You're going to go investigate. So apparently they had this whole plan to kill one of them, and they want to get impregnated by the other guy. It's just, they're acting like they've never encountered people. Apparently Ash says I've always been on my own. No way, dude. Why would you have all of these gates and all this stuff to protect yourself if you never ran into another person before? I don't buy that at all, because as soon as The Walking Dead's big theme is like, as soon as you have a place that's secure, people outside of that place are going to want to go in there. It's like this constant back and forth. That's like one of the big themes. And you're just telling me this guy's got this big fortress and he's flying this plane around that apparently everybody can hear. How am I supposed to buy that he doesn't know that? But Carol definitely knows that, and they just walk into their trap, no skepticism whatsoever. And it's just a ridiculous scene here. They separate. The ridiculous part is they have this whole plan, like, oh, we want to get a man and then get impregnated by him. We picked out baby names, and they're just waiting for somebody to crash out of the sky, literally. So they didn't go and seek this out at all, even though they have this plan. It's just, okay, next time we run into a person, even though we're in the middle of nowhere, it just kind of makes no sense. And then this lady has the attitude that the scientist guy did in Tales of the Walking Dead, where it's like, oh, it's actually a good thing. It's nature fighting back. It's good that all the people are dead now because of climate change. And I mean, there are people that really think like this. I think it's a kind of twisted ideology, and it definitely is. But as soon as Carol hears that, it should be like, okay, she's a little messed up in the head, and she's okay with everybody we love dying. Better not let her take Daryl's bow and point it at her. That definitely would be a bad idea. And then she just lets it happen, and it's... Carol's somebody who's always on her guard. She's good at seeing through people. She's good at playing people. And yet she walks into this. It's just so forced and fake. And it's... I couldn't stand this part. Laughable part of the episode, and you just know that they're not gonna die here. Like, we know they're getting to France. It's just this pointless detour. And I guess the theme is thinking about the future, about children, and all this. Like, there's stuff they're trying to do, but here we got Ash getting SA'd at gunpoint. I don't know why she just leaves him there by the plane, and then like, okay, we'll come back later. Like, shouldn't she maybe do her business or something? I don't know. And then they come back, and then this lady just decides to shoot her friend when she comes back. She's like, I couldn't kill Carol is all of a sudden getting in my head and I can't kill her, and I'm not a killer even though I hate humanity apparently, and I'm just gonna kill this person that I've survived with for so long to save Carol. Why? I don't know. I guess the idea is they have differing views on what their goals are, and obviously having children is kind of the opposite of what the other person wants. So I don't know. Dude. It's just dumb. And then Ash comes back and kills her. And I thought these parts were funny. Like, I was laughing. I was not taking it seriously. So it's just a waste. They might as well have just gone straight to France as far as I'm concerned. Like, that was just such a waste of time. And then here we are with Laurent. It turns out that he's actually not been kidnapped. And we find that out through Evie, I think her name is, the other nun. And at the same time, we're breaking into this facility. There's somebody upstairs, and then we go up there and they attack. And I was just kind of like lost at this point in the episode. Now that I've seen the whole thing, I understand what was going on. But just at the time, I was like, who's fighting whom and what is going on? Like, I was just lost. And then we have this mysterious place where somebody's giving somebody food, and it's Laurent's special meal, so it's definitely him. And I don't know, again, I don't know why we're not just going straight into the ceremony. If the plan was, oh, let's just distract Daryl, why are we waiting for this whole thing to happen? And then this guy turns out he's going to kill everybody, and I never really cared about this character to begin with, and he's a scumbag, and I was just not invested in this whole standoff, and, our own people killing ourselves. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of goofy. I was just lost. There's this whole thing in this scene where it's like Fallow and Isabel weren't supposed to be there during this. And what did they think was going to happen when Laurent is supposedly kidnapped? Like, of course those people are going to go. Like, you told this guy Fallow that Laurent's like the savior. Of course he's going to go save him. All of his faith is in this child. And then you have Isabel, who was there when he was born and promised the mother that she would keep him safe. Of course she's going to go. It would be stupid to think that she's not going to go. So that part of the episode just didn't make sense at all. And another thing we have here is we just have Carol tries to get Ash not to come along, as if it's going to be okay when she comes back with Daryl, and then she convinces him somehow, even though it doesn't really make sense, because Carol needs Ash to stay alive. I don't think she could fly a plane over there, so... And then they have this thing where Ash is like, I'm going to find fuel. It's like, where, dude? We are like over a decade into the apocalypse, my man. It's not like it's just going to be lying around because it got spoiled. We already had the storyline in Fear the Walking Dead where the fuel is going bad. So we can't go back on that and pretend that fuel magically stays okay when we've already had it in universe that it doesn't, okay? So there's no way we're just going to happen to run into somebody who's producing gasoline or ethanol or something. Not very likely. And again, this is another part of the episode where Ash should be angry at Carol for this whole situation that they're in. And they didn't even think about the return trip. Like, this whole thing is just like a suicide mission. It makes no sense. And I just think this whole storyline just falls apart massively in this episode. And now Carol just walks into exactly where she needs to be. And here we go with the coincidences and contrivances again. It's like Carol has nothing to go on. She doesn't even have any reason to believe that Paris is the place to go. And they just so happen to land right there. I mean, I know France is a relatively small country compared to the US, but it has a decent amount of landmass. It's not like a teeny tiny island or something. It's pretty low odds that she would just immediately get where she needs to go. I do love the visuals here. Again, the locations are fantastic. Even that abandoned building with the Daryl scene look good. Like, there's a lot of great scenery here. Not going to deny that. But she just immediately runs into one of Madame Janae's kind of scumbag army dudes. And I do like the thing that she cuts the bag of grain to leave a trail. It is convenient that they didn't go that far, though, because it didn't have the time to leak out all the way before they get there. So, it's fine, though. And then we got this scene where there's Madame Janae's kind of propaganda war, where she's trying to get people on her side. And they're trying to get volunteers for something. If this is the experiments, I suppose we'll find out next episode. But they're looking for people that are tough. So I don't know if that means tough so they can turn them into the strong zombies, or tough so they can turn them into soldiers. It doesn't make sense the way everything's laid out here, because this lady's like, we're trying to return order to France and we're giving you guys free stuff. It's like, okay, those two things do not align with just laying the food out and saying have at it, and just people running in like chaos. It would be an orderly, like, one at a time. We're gonna give everybody the same thing so that it's fair, and it's going to be like regimented. It's not just going to be like a free-for-all, which is what it turns into, and it becomes chaos. And it's just like, it's blatantly obvious to everybody that, like, I mean, obviously they could have written it in such a way that it did get out of hand eventually, but they didn't do that. It was just like these army guys had no plan. So Carol fights back against somebody. She ends up in a van, and then here we have Isabel and Daryl kind of deciding that Isabel wants to go back to the US with him, and that's when they have their moment. So I get what they're going for here, where, Daryl maybe wanted to go this way earlier, but he couldn't because he knows he wants to go home. So now that she's going to come with him, he's okay with indulging in his feelings towards Isabel. The problem is, I'm not really that invested emotionally in Isabel, and I don't know what, like, I guess like people are called shippers that are really into like characters hooking up over time. I'm not one of those people, but when it's written well, I can get invested, like Michonne and Rick, and there are a few other examples where the show does it right. I don't know, I'm just not that invested in Isabel, and I never really have been, so I don't know that I'm really feeling this, to be honest, and I just know it's going to go badly anyway, so I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. And then here's the reveal where Losang's number one kind of screws him over and just said she was trying to kill Daryl. Daryl's not coming back. And then we got Cordon tied up and being tortured by Janae, and I don't even really know why he doesn't just tell her at this point. Like, why did he let Daryl get away to begin with? He hated him because Daryl killed his brother, and they had this whole rivalry, and he changes his mind. I can understand why he might start to question the leadership, but at the same time, it's like, why is he so invested in it? He's willing to torture. It's like, this is something that even, like, if Daryl was your best friend, most people cave under this type of pressure. So I don't understand why he is so insistent on keeping going with it. So I guess we'll get into that later on, but I don't know, it just kind of feels a little silly. So, especially because the scene ends with, here's the pocket watch with the picture of the place where they are. It's like, I guess you could look at that because it's a known landmark that people are going to be aware of. So you look at that, you might just think, oh, it's just that landmark. But you would think that they would put two and two together at some point, especially because it's strategic. It's slightly off of the island, and there's also like water surrounding it. But I forgot to talk about Laurent's ceremony, where because of the miracle birth thing, where, he was born from somebody who was a zombie, they're like, okay, that means he is immune, and we're going to bite him to test that. That is a good idea. So I like that, and it's a little sinister, and we know it's not going to work. And I would think that Losang and them will be smart enough to be like, okay, we have to fake it. We're not actually going to bite him. We're going to, like, have somebody dress up like a zombie, and then we're going to have them bite him, and it's just not going to be an actual, like, zombie bite. But they actually have faith in it. That's the whole thing, faith versus doubt. So there is no doubt, I guess. They're just like, yeah, we're going to let him get bitten. I didn't care for this episode very much, unfortunately. So probably the worst of the Daryl Dixon spinoff yet. And I'm really hoping that we can turn it around next episode. I don't know what else to say. That's pretty much this episode. A disappointment. Last episode I did enjoy, but the more I thought about the contrivances I pointed out, the more I'm like, yeah, that makes no sense. Ash survived this whole time. He didn't have a backup for the doors that unlock when the power goes out. Like, he didn't have a padlock, a chain, anything to keep the zombies out. So I don't know. The more I think about that, the more it bothers me that Carol just so happened to run into the one person as an airplane and the contrived like car crash thing. So the more I think about that, the less I like that episode, even though in general I think it was solid. And then this one is just like, no. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how it goes next week. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Oh, and just one more thing. I know that the leaks for this whole season are out. If you could leave that out of the comment section, I would appreciate it, because I and a lot of the other people who are watching on AMC have not seen that stuff. So no spoilers in the comments, please. And with that, it's been your boy Shuggy, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.